Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. We're live with a bit of breaking news. Jadon Sancho has been punished or disciplined by Manchester United. We've just had a statement released from the club concerning the winger, and I'm going to read you the entire statement. It won't take long. This has just gone out, 10 minutes ago at 3:30. It says, Jadon Sancho will remain on a personal training programme away from the first team group pending resolution of a squad discipline issue. So it does seem like Erik ten Hag isn't being all forgiving when it comes to Jadon Sancho. We know what's gone on, but I'll recap. Erik ten Hag questioned, maybe sort of criticised, questioned, however you want to term it, Jadon Sancho's application in training after the Arsenal game. When he was asked about Sancho not being in the squad, he mentioned the fact that in training his levels weren't good enough or weren't what you'd expect, or however he worded it, I'm paraphrasing. We then saw almost immediately Jadon Sancho release this Twitter statement where he was pushing back there, saying he'd been made a scapegoat, saying there are other things you don't know about that are going on here, don't believe everything you read, that sort of stuff. That was a statement he put out as a Twitter post, and was his pinned tweet from, was it last Sunday to, I think it was yesterday or the day before. He then deleted it, seemingly after talks with the manager. However, those talks don't seem to have led to any reconciliation between Jadon Sancho and Erik ten Hag, because we've now had this club statement basically saying that Jadon Sancho has been sent to the naughty step. He's going to be training on his own. He's not going to be joining the first team squad. He's not going to be training with them. He's going to be on a personal training programme away from the first team group pending resolution of a squad discipline issue. So it's obvious that Erik ten Hag is not having it. He's just not having this. You imagine that, and again, I don't want to speculate too much, you imagine they held talks, and you imagine those talks did not go the way of resolving the issues between Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho. Now, we don't know. We're not privy to those discussions. We don't know what was said. We don't know if Jadon Sancho is still angry or still feels aggrieved. I take it from him deleting his tweet, he might have fallen somewhat, but you don't know. He might have felt like he had to delete that tweet, but he still feels he hasn't been treated fairly, or he could be contrite and he could be, look, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done what I've done. The manager might just be like having none of it anyway. We don't know, but what we do know is that Jadon Sancho isn't going to be training with the first team squad. Now, this is quite a big step from Manchester United, because I've been following United for years, and I don't recall many instances like this where a player will be publicly criticised by the manager, will push back on it, and then have a statement about him from the club saying that he's going to be training alone whilst the discipline issue is resolved. It is very, very rare for this to happen at Manchester United. Get involved in the comments and the chat. I want to hear from you guys. Hit that like button as well. You might not like what's going on, but like the video. We're going to have a discussion about this. It's sort of a new one to me, this. I'm trying to think, has this happened before? We know there was an issue with Ronaldo. When he gave that interview with Piers Morgan, he was more or less done. That wasn't the same as this, though. This feels a little bit different, because this is a player who sort of does have a future at Manchester United. Well, you thought would have had a future at Manchester United. Relatively young player, big signing. This has all sort of come from nowhere over the last week or two, hasn't it? All this popping off. But we now see that basically Jadon Sancho hasn't, or Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho haven't resolved this. It's still ongoing and pending a resolution of a squad discipline issue, which is basically Jadon Sancho's discipline. He's going to be training away from the first team. Not great, no matter how you look at it. Someone in the chat, Sam Strands there, says Statement FC. Retired Fraud says Statement FC. I'd just love to go 48 hours, whatever it is, without a statement from Manchester United. It does feel like we're constantly having statements. Santa Notch says, morning, Jay. No, wait, no, it's not the morning. It's the afternoon, and we've had another statement. It feels like there's a statement about Mason Greenwood. There's a statement about Anthony. There's a statement about Sancho. There's always a statement. It is getting a little bit deflating, isn't it, being a Manchester United fan? When you want to be talking about football, you want to be talking about us winning matches and challenging for trophies, and instead it seems we're talking about an issue for various reasons. I know some of the players I mentioned are a lot more serious issues than this, but for various reasons we're talking about a player not being available or not featuring or not playing and now not training with the first team. It's not what you're about as football. It's not what I'm about as a football fan. It's not what I want to hear or talk about, but we will talk about it because it's happening, and it's happening to my club. Let me know what you think. Jed's Dead Baby says, Ten Hag had to act, but I'm not sure there was any need for the statement. This should be handled internally. Do you agree with Jed's Dead Baby there? Do you think the club should have just handled this privately, kept it in-house, not said anything about a statement, not give a statement out, not said anything about what was happening with Jadon Sancho, just sort of carried on, maybe addressed it in the press conference when he was asked, if he was asked about Jadon Sancho, which I'm sure he would have been, he could have maybe said something then, to not even wait 24 hours to the press conference, to put this statement out now is a big decision. One that the club may have taken because they're worried about the player putting out his own statement or leaking something to the press. Maybe that is why the club have decided to get ahead of it and just say, look, this is how we're dealing with it. Because Jadon Sancho could quite easily put another tweet out. He could say, look, I'm being told I've got to trade on my own, I'm fuming or whatever. Or he could leak it to the press, or his team could leak it to the press. There's been sort of stories coming out under that you feel like they've come from Jadon Sancho's camp. The story about Erik ten Hag not having permission to speak about Jadon Sancho's mental health very much felt like it came from Jadon Sancho's camp. I don't know if it did or not, but it would seem weird for it to come from anywhere else. I don't think United were going to sort of leak that story. Let me know what you think. Trans Trucker says snowflakes support Sancho. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that it's a bit of a mixed bag, this one. There are people out there who might think Jadon Sancho's been harshly treated. There are people there who probably think he's not acted in the best way. People who back what the club are doing. I do feel like, from what I've seen, and you may disagree, and by all means get involved in the comments in the chat and let me know, that the majority of fans I've seen speaking about this tend to feel Jadon Sancho's let himself down, that he's not handled it in the right way. There are a lot of people that think the club could have handled it better. A lot of people that think Erik ten Hag could have handled it better. I mean, with the initial comments after the Arsenal game, I don't mean about this now, but there's a lot of people that seem to be saying Jadon Sancho hasn't covered himself in glory. And a big part of the issue with Jadon Sancho is he hasn't performed consistently enough for Manchester United. If we were talking about a player who, like Bruno, for example, who, whether you love Bruno Fernandes or not, plays every game, gives his all, has, for me, been our best signing post for Alex Ferguson. If this was going on with him, you could say, well, Bruno's got a case to be agreed, because look at how many times he plays, look at the performances he puts in, look how important he is to the team. You've got a player who the jury's still out on. I really do think the jury's out on him when it comes to his Manchester United career. And that seems crackers to say that, because he came to Manchester United with a reputation, a deserved and earned reputation, as one of the best young attackers in the world. If you look at his final season at Dortmund, his numbers were basically a goal involvement every game. He helped them win a trophy as well and get Champions League football. It was a phenomenal season that he had at Dortmund. We knew what he was about. He'd obviously been in England before. He's English. He came from England, came through City's academy. The people going, you know, look, we get Jadon Sancho here. He's going to be amazing for Manchester United. He's just the type of player we need. He's going to be exciting, attacking, prolific player who can get us goals, assists, and entertain you as well. And I don't really think he's done any of those things. He's done them in fits and starts. His numbers aren't awful. He does get goals and assists, but nowhere near the level you'd have expected. Certainly not what I would have expected. Nowhere near the consistency you would have hoped for. And also, when you look at it, you saw that the manager last season gave Jadon Sancho this sort of time away. I think he went to the Netherlands to have his own little sort of training regime to try and get himself ready and fit. Whether that was mentally or physically, we're not quite clear on. But to get himself at a position where he could play for Manchester United, he came back, he did okay. I don't think he particularly set the world alight, if I'm being honest, when he came back from that break, if you can call it a break. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it's working out for Jadon Sancho. And I get the impression, and I might be wrong, that he's done. I think he's done at this club. I don't see a way of Jadon Sancho coming back and playing for Manchester United now and being a regular for Manchester United and being a success at Manchester United. I think all sort of indications point to him going in January. I don't think he'll want to stick around. I don't think the manager wants him. I don't know. Only the manager and Jadon Sancho know the answer to that one. But I get the impression he's done. Let me know what you think. One Skill Rap, who's been a member of the academy for 16 months, says you can't hide information like that for a club that big. Ten Hag took the right decision. Sancho needs to think about his behaviour. Hashtag GGMU laughing heart emoji. Hungry Alpaca says bye-bye Sancho. Blade X says, if I was Sancho, I would be happy to miss that match, Brighton, because we are going to get beat 5-1. Thabo says Sancho can go. Brian Casey says, how are the legs, Jay? Big up you and Motty. I think you mean me and Scotty, doing the 60 miles in September for cancer research. Yes, thank you, my brother. I am doing 60 miles in September for cancer research. Me and my boy David Scott are doing that just as a little aside, raising a bit of money. Thanks to everyone who has donated for that as well. Much appreciated. Yeah, back to the Jadon Sancho news. Get involved. Let me know what you think. Do you think the club have treated him badly? Do you think the player himself has let himself down? What are your opinions on it? I want to hear from you guys. Get involved. Hit that like button as well. There's over 2,000 people watching. Let's get to 500 likes. Hit the like button. You might not like what's going on at Manchester United, but you can like this video. I'm going to get into the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Do you think Jadon Sancho's to blame? Do you think the club are to blame? Do you think there's a future for Jadon Sancho at Manchester United Football Club? Now we have had this statement telling us that he's not training with the first team. He's got to go into training now and do his own thing. He's not training with his teammates, his mates, the people that he's been playing alongside. He's not doing that. He knows that. They know that. He's got to deal with that. How's he going to feel about that? Because that is a massive statement and step by Erik ten Hag. He's more or less decided, this kid, I'm not having it with him. Does this mean he's not having it with him full stop? Or can he still have his United career salvaged? Let me know what you think. I want to know what you guys think. Hit that like button, please. Mayor Amateur says, got a striker, finally. No back to looking for a right. Now, sorry, I think that's now back to looking for a right winger. Yeah, we've got a striker in Rasmus Højlund. Now it seems like we need a right winger. Anthony's not available. Mason Greenwood isn't available or has gone to Getafe. We all know the reasons for those two players not being available. Jadon Sancho, who perhaps could have played on that right-hand side and maybe done a good job and maybe supplied Rasmus Højlund with some of the ammunition he needs to get goals, isn't available. Presume he's not available because he's not training with the first team, so he's not going to play, is he? You don't train on your own and then play for Manchester United. That's not how it works. So he's having a discipline issue, pending resolution of a discipline issue. I just think he's done. I think Jadon Sancho at Manchester United is done. I think this is him training on his own. Maybe he comes back into first team training before January, but I think he goes in January. There was an article in The Athletic the other day about how I think he'd been offered to a Saudi club. United were willing to sell him. Jadon Sancho didn't want to go. I think that's what he was saying. I don't think this is going to keep him here. I think that the inevitable move now is he goes. He's not going to go anywhere for the time being, though. I think there's only the Turkish transfer window maybe that's still open. I don't think he's going anywhere there. David O'Connor says, just get rid. He's clearly not the standard we expect. The badge is too heavy for him. Cameron Hall says, if Facundo Palestri gets game time and does well, we don't need Sancho. Abhinav Verma says, Sancho must be training real bad to be offered to Steven Gerrard's team. Malp says, Lingard was better than Sancho. T2, the Izzo, says, Jadon Sancho, go. Sorry, I've heard a lot worse, to be fair. And the puns, that wasn't that bad. Don Parkinson says, watch us call Greenwood back and sell Sancho in Jan. Meltdown United. Listen, I don't know if Mason Greenwood is 100% done forever at Manchester United, but I certainly don't see him coming back anytime soon. Aaron Moore says, yes, Sir Motty. Yeah, man. Abhinav Verma also says, Jadon Sancho to be reborn as Jason Sanchez. You remember those days when we were chasing him and we were calling him Jason Sanchez on this channel? I had such high hopes for him, and it's not really happened for him. Even in pre-season, he had a good pre-season. He scored that goal against Arsenal. He looked lively. You think this can be it now? Kick out on under this manager, a manager who's giving you a bit of time away, helped you out, seems to like you, trying you in a different position, trying you as a false nine, and it's still not happening for him. It's just these discipline issues. The article in The Athletic was saying how he was always late. He's late for training. He's late for team meetings. They had to tell him to come in an hour early so that he's not late. There's an issue going on there. But you just can't keep accommodating a player who's obviously not towing the line. And he isn't. He just isn't, is he? Let's face facts. If Jadon Sancho was doing what he should be doing in training and in terms of turning up on time and all the rest of it, we wouldn't have had that issue. We wouldn't have had Erik ten Hag calling him out. He would have been in the squad for the Arsenal game. He probably would have started. He should be starting these games, Jadon Sancho. I think it's crazy that you've got a player with the quality of Jadon Sancho who doesn't start for Manchester United. Mitsoka Marius has been a member of the academy for 24 months. He says that's 4 main players we have lost for non-footballing reasons in 2 seasons. Then the Martial thing, what's going on? The Martial thing apparently was him turning up for training 4 hours early. which is just bizarre. Don Parkinson says, I miss Dan James. Well, at least Dan James could play. At least he was available. I don't particularly miss him. I thought he was all right for a bit, but shows where we're at, doesn't it? We're pining for Dan James. John Hudson says, can he play the piano, though? Do you remember that with Alexis Sanchez? That was another absolute car crash. Trans Tucker says, too much money to a young man, got no fight. Casey says, I miss Fred. Fred had a lot of faults, and he wasn't probably the levels you need, but he always gave his all, and he was a likeable guy. I'm not saying Jadon Sancho's unlikable, but I don't think he's covered himself in glory with this situation. I feel that he's been either badly advised or he's acted stupidly. The way he sent that tweet and he posted that tweet, pushing back on what the manager has said, I think he should have maybe took a minute, calmed himself down and not reacted publicly to it. You can argue that Erik ten Hag shouldn't have called him out publicly, but I don't think Jadon Sancho pushing back has done him any favours. And the thing is now, and I can see it from these comments, no one's really going mad about him not being available, basically. No one's saying here, what is Erik ten Hag doing? Why has he done this? Jadon Sancho's amazing. Now, if you believe that, get involved in the comments and let me know. If you are absolutely fuming that we have lost another player, that he's not going to be available for Brighton, he isn't. If he's not training with the first team, he's not going to play. If you're fuming about this, let me know. If you think Jadon Sancho should be in the squad, should be playing, should be forgiven, then let me know. If you think this is all Erik ten Hag's fault and we're missing a key player now, I want to hear from you. If you don't feel like that and you feel like Jadon Sancho's brought it on himself and you feel like the club and the manager have handled it in the right way, then I want to hear from you again as well. I want to hear from everyone. I want to hear all your opinions. I want to see what the fan base is feeling about this, because it is a bit of a mess and it's one that is also avoidable. Brian Casey said, if only had Martial's work ethic, who turns up early. Yeah, turns up 4 hours early. J.A. Al says, rather see Palestri play. Nicholas Slaughter says, anything but Bruno on the right. I don't want to see Bruno on the right because I like him in the middle. Zam H says, Sancho out. Big Tings 84 says, is this indefinite? There's no time scale on it, from what I can gather. It's that brief statement. When I saw, you see statements on social media and you think, oh, they're like a journalist or someone will post a quote of a statement. I thought that's probably, when I saw the quotes from journalists, I thought that's probably the first bit. There's going to be more. But there isn't. That is the statement. You can see it on your screens there. Jadon Sancho will remain on a personal training programme away from the first team group pending resolution of a squad discipline issue. We are Statement FC. That is us right now. It's statement after statement after statement. It's player not being available after player not being available after player not being available for a multitude of reasons. I think Erik ten Hag needs backing. I think we've got to believe in him. I think he's disciplining this team. He's disciplining these players. And if they can't handle it, then I think they need to be moved on, including Jadon Sancho. I'm hoping that Jadon Sancho can resolve this, can turn it around, can come back and play for Manchester United and play as well as we've seen him play for Dortmund. I don't know if that's going to happen, and I don't think it will happen. I think Jadon Sancho is done. I think this just is the first step, or probably the second or third step, towards him leaving in January. I think that's where he's going to end up going. You may disagree. Let me know what you think. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. GMJ says, Sancho is probably feeling picked on because he's the only Forest team player who had to play all the pre-season games. I enjoyed his performances, but he was singled out while others got a pass. They should swap Sancho for Malin, says Mighty Man. That would be a good deal. Sancho is the new Dele Alli, says King Dino. That's sad to see. Detwork says, yeah, but who's going to buy him at those wages? Mr. Decani says, how much do we get for him if we sell him? That is a great point, great questions. How much do we get? 30, 35 mil, maybe? We're not going to get the 73 million or whatever it was we paid for him, are we? Not after the 2.5 seasons he's had. He's not exactly set the world alight, and plus now there's questions about his discipline, his attitude. Not many clubs want to go in for that. Mount on the right, since Paps Berede. Maybe Mason Mount on the right. Blade X says 20 million. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat. The breaking news there, Jadon Sancho, a statement has been released by the club. He's not going to be playing with the first team or training with the first team anymore because of discipline issues. He's going to be given his own little private training regime or private training alone, which basically means he's been disciplined. He's been disciplined. He's been punished. Erik ten Hag not happy with his winger. Let's see where this one goes, but I think it's going to end with Jadon Sancho leaving. Don't forget, if you're not doing already, hit like, share and subscribe. Also, I put a little link in the chat to my 60 miles in September that I'm doing for Cancer Research UK, raising a bit of money for them. So if you can, I know it's times are hard, I appreciate that, but do click on that link and give us a donation. But whatever you do, make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.